Welcome back to the Refund Arcade YouTube channel. We've got something in the living room. What is going on here? We've got an arch rivals arcade cabinet, but this is not a dedicated cabinet. And it looks a little different. It looks a little familiar for folks that are fans of Williams arcade games. This cabinet from the side profile, as we scoot down to the foot in the kick plate area, goes straight down, as opposed to some of the other Williams cabinets you'll see that'll kind of curve inward and things like that. Side profiles on the Williams cabinets really help you determine initially what games it could be. In this case, it goes straight down. So there's a couple games that could be this, right? But let's go take a look. This is a horizontal monitor. That should be another little hint. And as we look toward the back here, as the black paint chips off, we've got some dark blue and some light blue. That should be all you need to know to guess what this game is if you're a fan of arcades and arcade collecting and things like that. This is a 1982 Bubbles from Williams, and somebody in 1989 decided to swap out Bubbles with arch rivals there and try to make some more money. Multiplayer here, you can see that they changed up the control panel. Bubbles usually has one joystick and some buttons on the sides. In this case, they needed to make room for two people to stand at this 19-inch monitor to be able to play some games. And the control panel is just really tight. I opened up the control panel, took a look at it, and there's a lot of holes of trial and error of button placement, or maybe things other than Bubbles that this control panel was originally part of, who knows. But it's just hacked up. And so there's this plastic or kind of a Lexan overlay to help you from popping your thumb through the simply vinyl material control panel overlay that's just sitting through a bunch of holes that are sitting up here. So they didn't take time to fill it and correct it. They just threw this thing over it and moved on. I'd reached out to an individual online who is an expert at reproducing these Williams awkwardly shaped, curved wooden control panels. There's a lot going on here. It's not just a flat panel. And he was super quick to respond, and I'm excited to work with him on creating a custom option here for the Williams 49-way joysticks. And we need to add an extra button per side to turn this arch rivals into our Pigskin 621 AD arcade cabinet. I was thinking about making this dual bootable, but I'm not sure if we can do that easily, since the 49 ways require their own dedicated 5 volts of electricity and plug into the board directly more times than not. So I can probably solve that electronics concern, but let's talk about the cabinet just a little bit here. The back, pretty rough. I bought it from a guy, doesn't have the keys, so I couldn't open anything. He said he put this on it, and boy, this mech looks sad. I mean, it's bent over here. It's all crooked. It's just loose. The wiring still seems to be kind of intact. We're missing some buttons here on the button top. You know, everything's unplugged here for the lights, and it's just kind of like genuinely just kind of rusty everywhere. It's like just, I don't know if there's been water exposure or what's going on here, and maybe just tacked on 40 years of dirt. But the inside, also super filthy. The base is disgusting, but I can barely shut this coin door, so we're probably going to replace this whole thing. Everything's loose here and just freaking horrible. Monitor claimed to be recapped. When I popped it open and took a look at everything, I don't know about that. And the isolation transformer was unhooked. I mean, maybe they had some work on the monitor and just never hooked it back up. I think the guy kind of told me a story, and he acted like he didn't know anything about anything. And he probably didn't. Based on his conversation with me, he just didn't know much, and he just wanted to move this thing, and he was kind of shady. We'll just say that. But we got the cabinet out of about, I don't know, a 45 step loft area inside of a large garage. This guy was a mechanic, owner of a mechanic business, and he was moving this cabinet specifically. Glad I got it back home to take care of this thing. It's in pretty rough shape, but we're going to take care of this thing. We're going to restore it, not to its former Bubbles glory. I don't have a Bubbles board, and honestly not a big fan of Bubbles, but we're going to be putting a Pigskin in here and possibly dual boot to our arch rivals, assuming the board still works. But I have my doubts on whether or not the monitor works, and I have my doubts on a whole lot of things, to be honest, with this thing. The main reason I purchased this was to have a smaller cabinet downstairs so my wife and I and my son can enjoy playing some Pigskin. My wife and I are big fans of that game. I've got a couple boards downstairs, and I'm looking forward to getting put into this cabinet after we clean it up and do a lot of repairs on it. And we're going to document that journey and stick it up on YouTube. Hopefully we can teach some people some things, and maybe I will learn some things in the process. You can see that there is just all kinds of damage on this side. This isn't just dirt and like things I can wipe off. This is actually embedded, like cut into the actual side of the cabinet here. It has been roughed up. But yeah, here's some more blue. That is definitely a Bubbles. And look, this has some glue here. Is that just literally the glue coming off? Did they put a piece of laminate over top of the Bubbles? Or, I don't know. I don't want to peel that off. We're going to end up bondoing this and then sanding it down. We're going to replace the T-molding. Unfortunately, the marquee that I have for Pigskin is too big to place in here. And it is a plexi, kind of like this, and not just a thinner marquee material that you can easily cut. So I'm sure you can cut those, but with how old it is and how fragile it is, I just don't want to risk cracking it. And, you know, this might just live to be an arch rivals marquee, and then we'll change the overlay down here and stuff like that. We'll see what we can do here. But looking forward to this project. It's going to end up in the basement. Once we have it in the basement, we'll deep dive into the inside of the cabinet, what we're going to do, and we'll break it out into segments. So come along with me in this journey as we restore this cabinet to almost its former glory. Till next time.